and dumb. This is No Buts About It. Hi, everyone. This is Josh Butts here with No Buts About It. And Chus is in his basement in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And sports are causing me a lot of pain, and I don't like it. And I think I might be done with it. But we do this podcast, so I kind of have to keep doing it. However, I do want to start off the Indiana Fever. We're not a WNBA podcast, but we're going to be a WNBA podcast for like 3 minutes here. Indiana Fever last night played against the Las Vegas Aces. Now, I promise this is all going to come back around. If you are familiar with the Indiana Fever, you know that Caitlin Clark has been out. Sophie Cunningham has been out. Basically, I think 6 players have been injured. Then they weren't supposed to make the playoffs with all these injuries. Then they won the first round of the playoffs against the Atlanta Dream. They get to the semifinals against the Las Vegas Aces, which the Las Vegas Aces have the 4-time MVP on their team and have won the WNBA championship in 2022 and 2023. And this lady here, Kelsey Mitchell, was dragging the Indiana Fever through the playoffs. She dragged them into the playoffs. She took up the header. She was the general for the Indiana Fever, and she went down in the third quarter, and all hope seemed to be lost. I thought hope was lost. But then the Indiana Fever, led by Lexi Hull, Odyssey Sims, Aaliyah Boston before she fouled out, they came together and they forced an overtime in Game 5. And Stephanie White, this is her first year as head coach for the Indiana Fever. She gave a speech where she basically said, look, we've been here before. Everyone's injured. That is true. But she rallied the troops. And they forced an overtime against one of the better teams in the WNBA. And they gave a passionate speech. She had me fired up. She had the girls fired up, and they almost won that game. And you know who couldn't do that? Zac Taylor. First of all, I want to say congratulations to the Indiana Fever. I'm already hyped up for next season. But second of all, what the heck are you doing in Cincinnati? Zachary. I have come on this podcast, and Chus has come on this podcast multiple times and defended you. There have been, for years, fans have been saying, fire Zac Taylor. And I have defended you. Chus is a Steelers fan, and Chus defended you. And there's just no passion on this team. Your halftime interviews are just painful. Like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna go out and we're gonna try. Let's I guess talk. Okay, there's just no passion on this team. You have Jamar Chase. This is an old photo because it's happened before, but Jamar Chase is yelling at Zac Taylor on the sidelines. And you can tell it's an old photo because Alex Kappa's in the background. But what is happening? I understand Joe Burrow went down, but that is not an excuse to not play with passion. You came in 2-0. And we made some excuses for the Vikings. Said, hey, a bunch of the defensive players were injured. You know, it was Jake Browning's first game against the Brian Flores defense. That's intense. That's a lot to deal with. But going against the Denver Broncos, you should at least seem competitive. And you seemed like you were going to be on the opening drive where you scored 3 points. But you just rolled over. Do we need to bring in Stephanie White to coach the Cincinnati Bengals? Because the Fever didn't just roll over when Caitlin Clark got hurt. Fever didn't roll over when Sophie Cunningham got hurt. Ari McDonald, We could sit here and keep naming players. I get you lose Joe Burrow. I get Joe Burrow is a big part, but at least fight for your team. That was frustrating. Chus, did you happen to watch the Broncos Bengals game at all?
Oh, hey guys, how's it going? I just gonna let Josh talk for 5 minutes because I know he's been kind of stressed for the last couple of days. Been pretty bad for sports in his realm, especially for the Fever. Going back to the Fever, very disappointed that they ended up losing that game. I really didn't want to see Vegas against Phoenix. Not that I'm really a huge watcher of the WNBA. We've talked about this discussion. Until they have a closer market to me, it's kind of hard for me to really follow along. But that being said, congrats to the Indiana Fever on a great season. I'll be looking forward to seeing what Caitlin Clark and the team does next season. Jumping back to the Cincinnati Bengals, I did not watch the game just because I didn't really know what to expect. The problem is whenever I want to watch these games, I also want some sort of firepower. And to be honest, I don't really think the Broncos have really impressed me that much this season. I know we've kind of talked about the Broncos kind of looking lackluster. Bo Nix having maybe a sophomore slump, not entirely, but definitely not meeting expectations like many expected him to. But that's usually how year two quarterbacks tend to have gone over the last couple of quarterback generations or so. But that being said, yeah, I didn't watch the game, but that's, not for any reason other than, I just expected it not to be that great of a game, and it ended up not being that great of a game. And it's unfortunate just because, with Zac Taylor, with Jake Browning, from a Steelers fan, I've defended both of them on this show. I always said Jake Browning was a better backup quarterback than many people have really, told. Everybody talks about how Jake Browning is not good, but I've always been like, oh yeah, Jake Browning, give him a chance, do well. He's going to do well. Just, give him a shot. We've seen what he's been capable of doing, and he has not lived up to that over the last 2 weeks. And whether that's a locker room problem that stems from Zac Taylor, or if that stems from Browning himself, or if that stems from something else inside the locker room that we don't know about that's holding this team down, whatever the case may be, something is not going right, because the Bengals have put up a total of 13 points in the last 2 games without Joe Burrow, and they've let up over 70 points.
Right. And if they were losing these games and there was a fight to it and you're like, okay, the reason they're losing is because, they have less quarterback play. The quarterback play has downgraded. That would be one thing. That was something we talked about. I said, Jake isn't Joe Burrow, but he's won games before, and this rest of this team is going to rally. And shout out to Bengals Central. They were the first person to notice this. I don't know if anyone else who noticed this first, but what is this? You have 4 guys, one of which is the running back, Samaje Perine, blocking a nose tackle. And then you have, I assume this is Orlando Brown Jr., and then this is Amarius Mims over here on the right. You have 4 guys on one, and then the other 2 just look lost. The 2 Broncos defenders are closer to Jake Browning than what your left and right tackle are. That's a 3-man rush. You have 5 guys on a 3-man rush, and you still couldn't do it. And I pounded and I like these guys. I do think the Bengals invested in the O-line somewhat. And I pounded the table for Scott Peters. I said, Scott Peters is going to be a great hire. He's going to get these guys going. But what the heck is that? That is unacceptable.
I just heard what you had been messaging in the chat about it, and it didn't seem pretty. And looking at the game afterwards, I was like, oh, it was definitely not a Monday Night Football worthy matchup. Now, if Joe Burrow would have been healthy, it might have been, but since he wasn't,
I don't think Joe Burrow wins that game. I don't.
But the thing is do they really put Joe Burrow in that locker room on such a pedestal? And I'm not putting this in a don't take this the wrong way. Are they putting him on such a pedestal in the locker room that they won't listen to anybody else other than Joe Burrow, because I don't think they're listening to Zac Taylor. Is Joe Burrow the only source of like motivation for this offense and this defense and this special teams? Just everybody? And that's bad, because if Zac Taylor, I always talk about how mediocre and how these finishes keep happening with Mike Tomlin, only finishing 10-7 and losing in the playoffs. But I would much rather, and I know you mentioned this with one of your buddies. I don't know if he listens to the show or not, but I would much rather have Mike Tomlin than Zac Taylor. And no, I would not accept a trade of Mike Tomlin for Zac Taylor, like one of your friends said, who claims to be a Steelers fan. So I don't know where he got that, but at least with Mike Tomlin, despite him making some questionable moves here and there, the one thing I will say about Mike Tomlin is he motivates his team. No matter how bad the team is or whatever shape the team is on offense or defense, the team just finds a way to make playoffs. And that's something that, although I'm ungrateful for, I should be more grateful for, because then I look at teams like the Cincinnati Bengals who have one player go down, and most likely just based on these last two games, it sucks to say, but it almost seems like your season's shot.
Okay. This is not the face of a motivated man. This is the face of a broken man at quarterback.
And why is he broken? What is making him broken?
The same man that broke everyone else. It is him. It is Zac Taylor. Zac Taylor seems like a nice guy. Again, if he came over and came to the backyard and was like, "Hey, can I have a beer?" I'd probably give him one. Maybe not right now, but usually I would give him. I'd be like, "Hey, let's chill." But this man could not motivate a team. I mean, it's going to be painful this Sunday to watch the halftime interviews, to go from Zac Taylor to this guy right here. I mean, Dan Campbell, he's going to be like a freaking roid machine. He's got a controlled anger. When he can get his guys going. That's going to be, I don't even want to watch that game. I will, because I'm a masochist, I guess. But,
you have to play the Lions next week?
Yes. And
you have to play the Lions?
But even Dan Campbell motivates his team. He brings the best out of all of his players. He gets in there and he says, "Yeah, Joe went down. That sucks, but we can't control that. Jake's going to get out there, and you're going to bring everything you have for Jacob. Offensive line, you're going to block harder. You're going to dig deeper. You're going to get your pad level lower. Defense, let's get some turnovers," which Demetrius Knight did get a turnover. But you have to fight. You have to fight for your teammates. It doesn't matter if it's Joe. It doesn't matter if it's Jake. I don't care if freaking Sean Clifford is in there. They should be fighting for their teammates. And this team is not fighting. This team is rolling over and dying. Do you know how many plays the Cincinnati Bengals had, or how many drives the Cincinnati Bengals had in Broncos territory?
I know it wasn't a lot. Yeah.
Opening drive. And they scored 3 points.
3 points. Yeah.
They were down 20 something, and it was 4th and 2, I think. And
what's going on with the run game? Why is that not being established? Is there a run game going on?
No, there is no run game. I don't know what it is. It's a mixture of play calling. It's a mixture of the offensive line. Whatever it is, it goes back to Zac. It's Zac's job to notice it and say, "Hey, let's fix this. How are we going to fix this?" And not just say, "Hey, well, there's a lot of good things, and, there's some things we need to work on." But no, get in there and be like, "Hey, Chase, last year you ran for 1,000 yards. This year you're averaging less than 2 yards a carry. What the heck, bud?"
Yeah. I mean, there's just been memes everywhere about these players that aren't producing. Jamar, T, Chase are all at the front of the line of it. Now, you can say because they have a backup quarterback, but even then, I mean, I'm just so surprised that this offense isn't producing anything. Is it going to fall back on the offense coordinator at that point, or does it continue to fall on to ZT?
It needs to fall on ZT. He's the head coach. But I do want to say, there's people keep saying, well, they paid Jamar, they paid T, and when you pay when you pay all your players that much money, you're not going to have a good offensive line. You're not going to have a good defense. If the situation was the Bengals are out of money, they can't pay anyone, that would be one thing. That is not the situation. The Bengals paid everyone and then just stopped spending money. I looked at it this morning. They have about $12 million left in cap space for this year. I think it's like $56 million next year. They have money. They could have spent more money, but the Bengals refuse to go all in. They refuse to they could have traded draft picks for guys. And you say, well, you could have draft picks. That's the other thing. I'm completely not really even related right now because we're in the offseason. The Bengals scouting department sucks. I think it's like 4 guys.
Impressive.
There is so much draft and I've talked about this before. There is so much draft analysis talent in the Cincinnati Bengals fan community. You could have an intern follow Joe Goodberry, Gridiron Grading, James Rapine, and just follow those 3 guys and say Parker Blake. You could just keep naming them. And if you just had the intern follow them and then drafted the guys that they said, if you want to go the cheap route, I would hire one of them. I would probably hire Joe Goodberry. But if you just wanted to go the cheap route, you could just follow him on Twitter and follow whatever he says. You would already have a better draft. I rarely say this. I think I could draft better. Because there's a lot of guys coming out of college, which I don't even have time to watch all the college games. But I watch enough, and I go back and watch other guys that I like. And I've been right about guys. I nailed the Browns draft, if I do say so myself. Harold Bannon Jr. looks great. Carson Schwessinger looks great. Dylan Sampson looked great when he was playing. It's not as hard as the Bengals make it, but they don't have these guys. Then they refuse to, adjust. And they keep trying to find this diamond in the rough when there's something perfect staring them right in the eyes. And it's just frustrating as a fan. And it's frustrating to watch, albeit a different sport. And I understand that completely. I'm not comparing the sports. But it is frustrating to watch the Indiana Fever lose their generational player and then like 5 other players around her and still make a playoff run, still rally, and then watch the Cincinnati Bengals, again, lose a generational player. But really, the rest of the team is still intact and just kind of roll over.
Is Joe Burrow that? The way that people are putting it is people don't realize, I guess, how good Joe Burrow is, because without Joe Burrow, this team is not good. And that's crazy to say. If Joe Burrow goes down, this team is just bad. And it's sad to say, but I don't, unless it has to be at that point, Zac Taylor, because people are like, oh, I didn't realize how much Joe Burrow was like Patrick Mahomes. But when you look at something like the Kansas City Chiefs, though, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes goes down, they're still probably going to win a game or 2 in that stretch.
Yeah, because Andy Reid's a good coach.
So what do you think should happen next then, Josh?
I fire Zac Taylor.
You'd fire Zac Taylor.
We fired Lou Anarumo, and we said, okay, if this team doesn't do well, then Zac Taylor, you're out too. Hey, Joe Burrow is going to be 30 next season. Something's got to change. You cannot waste Joe Burrow's career.
Yeah.
And they've already wasted a good portion of it. I get that he took us to the Super Bowl. I get that there was a culture change under Zac Taylor. That's great. That's awesome. That's amazing. Love it. Thank you, Zac. Again, not mad at Zac for that part. But if you aren't going to be able to rally the team when they need it most, that's the difference between an okay coach and a great coach. We have an okay coach. Joe Burrow deserves a great coach. And usually I say you can't fire him unless you know who you're going to replace him with. I don't know who it is. There's rumors of Joe Brady wanting a head coaching job, the OC for Buffalo. I know that he has experience with Joe and Jamar at LSU. Do you want to bring in another first-time head coach? I don't know. What about Brian Flores, defensive coordinator up in Minnesota? Great defense guy. He struggled in Miami as a head coach. Maybe you bring him in. You got Steve Spagnuolo over in Kansas City, veteran coach, well-respected coach in the league, defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Again, I don't know. I don't know who you bring in. That is not my job. My job is not to tell the Cincinnati Bengals who to hire.
Because the problem is, would you, if you fired Zac Taylor this season, not at the end of the season, like during the season, like we'll say week 9, after your week 9 loss or whatever, you guys fire Zac Taylor, who would you make the interim then? Because you're not going to be able to get Brian Flores until the end of the season.
Dan
Pitcher,
the Bengals offensive coordinator, because I don't think Al Golden is in the running for the defensive coordinator position.
Okay.
However, the Bengals do like to promote from within.
Right.
So, and the offense hasn't been, last year the offense wasn't a problem. I have no idea what's going on this year. But if you are the Bengals and you want to look at Dan Pitcher, the best way to interview him is make him the interim head coach and see if he can win some games. See if he can rally these guys. And then if he can't, then you know what you have. I mean, Joe Burrow is going to elevate any coach that's out there. You could have Brian Dable out there, and Joe Burrow is going to, elevate him.
You don't think Joe Burrow's ever going to get frustrated, do you? To do something drastic,
I hope not.
Because you know how the NFL is these days, or any sporting team. You get frustrated, and then you demand a trade or something. I don't want that to happen, but are you afraid that it could happen?
I mean, yeah, I'm afraid it could happen, but I don't think it'll happen right now. The front office just needs to do something.
How long is he extended for? Because you guys just signed him to an extension. What, last year?
I don't know. Think through 2030 or something, but I could be wrong. The point is, the Bengals just need to do something. Whether it's trade for Jameis Winston, whether it's fire Zac Taylor, do something to show that they're watching the games. Stop being apathetic.
Right.
Be good ownership. Be a good front office. But that took 23 minutes. It's just frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else to say. I mean, you would know better than I do, but based on how it looks, I feel like, needless to say, I think Zac Taylor needs to be on the out coming up here pretty soon. Especially, I mean, this next game against the Lions is going to be a pretty tell-all, because based on trends, it's not looking too hot. I just don't want I don't want you guys to look like the Bears. And if you guys do, that might make it even worse. And then who do you play after that?
I think the Packers.
You play the Packers, yeah. Followed by 4 days later playing the Steelers, who division rival, anything can happen, obviously. But I mean, Steelers team is doing okay. So
let's talk about the Colts. I'm tired of talking about the Bengals. Fire Zac Taylor. Hire Stephanie White. Anyway, Indianapolis Colts. Colts should have won that game against the Rams. And let's look at this play specifically right here. And this is from Fox Sports. There might be a little bit of a lag, but that's okay. Just in case you. Beautiful catch, right? Beautiful. 75 yards. Go into the house. A.D. Mitchell finally did something. We've been waiting for. Wait. No, it doesn't count. The broadcast got confused. They thought it was a touchdown. That didn't count. That would have been a beautiful 75-yard touchdown. Would have been great for my fantasy team. It didn't count. It it was a touchback because he fumbled out the end zone. How many times do we have to see wide receivers do that?
I saw that, and it was a beautiful play. I mean, he torched that defense, but I mean, you make dumb mistakes like that, and you get dumb rewards. And this was it was a touchback. So I mean, and it arguably probably cost the Colts the game.
Oh, it did. It did, because then I think maybe the very next drive, if not the next drive, very soon after it, Jonathan Taylor breaks out for a 53-yard run for a touchdown. And there's a holding call. And it wasn't even like really, I don't know that it had a huge impact on the game. Maybe on the play, maybe it did. But guess who the holding call's on? Adonai Mitchell. You took 14 points off the board, buddy. And what was the score? Colt, 27-20.
Yep.
Give
They
the
would have
Colts
won.
give the Colts those 14 points. It's 34-27.
So what do you do with Mitchell? You boot him?
I don't know that you boot him. He's in his second year as, I believe, a second-round pick. But Alec Pierce's stock went up. That's the starter.
Yeah, it's true.
And A.D. Mitchell was a guy I was wrong about. I liked him. I know I said that, like, I'd been right about the Browns. I was wrong about A.D. Mitchell. I thought he was going to come in and be. He has been a drops machine. He did take accountability for it, but I guess in that situation you kind of have to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think though, I mean, he's going to go through some like growing pains when it comes to it. I don't know what his rookie season looked like in comparison to this season. I don't know if he dropped a lot of balls last season. You would have been the one watching it more than I was, but do you think that he's kind of having like a little sophomore slump of his own? I mean, it's early on in the season. We're only at week 5. He has a chance. He has plenty of time to bounce back, especially with the opportunity at hand with the Colts possibly making a division claim run by the end of the season. I mean, I think they're very much in a position to win the AFC South. So, I mean, do you think that he'll maybe like turn it around? Do you think it's just like a little slump here?
He wasn't good his rookie year. He had 7 receptions for 137 yards in 4 games played. So he's not a starter. So let's make that clear. But he's a second round pick, so you'd kind of want him to end up being a starter at some point, or at least be a contributor. Right. And I just with Michael Pittman Jr., with Josh Downs, with Alec Pierce kind of coming onto the scene. And, you know, Alec Pierce isn't going to get you a ton of catches, but he'll get you a ton of yards on those deep balls. Tyler Warren looks like a fantastic pick for the Colts. Adonai Mitchell's going to be having a hard time finding a spot as a starter, as a notable starter, or as a notable player on this roster. And the thing that scares me is if someone like Michael Pittman Jr. or Josh Downs went down with an injury. I don't know that I would currently trust Adonai Mitchell if I'm Daniel Jones, because okay, Adonai Mitchell was in this week because Alec Pierce was down, and I like Alec Pierce, but he's not your wide receiver 1. He's not your wide receiver 2. So you don't need to throw to him as much because you still have Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs that the defense is worrying about. Those guys go down. I don't know. That worries me. I don't know that I trust Adonai. He's gonna need to earn back the trust of Colts fans. Maybe he hasn't lost the trust of Daniel Jones, but right now I think Colts fans are doubting him and his ability to make catches. And that was the thing about that play, he caught it. First of all, that was what surprised me. It was not like a George Pickens type sideline catch, but it was it was in the vague area of the sideline. So that was already kind of cool. And then he caught it, he secured it, he ran with it, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a touchdown. This is going to be great for his career. This is going to be like the highlight, like this is the starting point, the jumping off point. And instead it became the opposite. it became this, no, this was actually the climax of all the mistakes you've been making.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing you can argue with that. I mean, the only thing you can hope for is that he bounces back, but I mean, sometimes players end up not being what they pan out to be. I mean, he might just be, at the end of the day, he might just be a really good C plus. No, my dogs are going crazy upstairs. Must be a delivery or something. C plus special teams force, more or less. So,
Well, what about those rookies over in New York?
oh, dude, Jaxson Dart. I love it. I love it. I know you're big on Cam Skattebo, but I mean, I loved the Jaxson Dart pick.
Yes.
Hell of a game for him going into his first game starting as a rookie. Now, I will say it's very tragic, the Malik Neighbors injury, but I will say I think that it was still very impressive what we saw with Jaxson Dart in this past game. And it shows that he might end up being that top quarterback out of this year's draft. Everyone doubted him. People thought that the Giants reached, because he was projected to be fourth, fifth. Shador fell towards the fifth. It was supposed to be Shador and Cam Ward were probably going to be the top two quarterbacks taken. Cam Ward first overall. And although we've talked about Cam Ward, I mean, that offense over in Tennessee it's a little bit of a little dumpster fire right now. But the Giants, they actually have like a cool producing offense. This is like a very interesting quarterback running back duo that you could say is like a very good version. I don't want to compare it to like how Daniel Jones and Saquon were, because Daniel Jones in New York I don't think is going to be as good as Jaxson Dart. And it's too hard to tell if Cam Skattebo is going to be better than, Saquon Barkley. But that's kind of
that's a high bar.
Yeah, that's a high bar. So I mean, it's kind of hard to say that, but it's like the new generation of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, I think, is going to be Jaxson Dart and Cam Skattebo. So, and this offense has a Malik Neighbors that will come back next year. They have some wide receivers that they can also lean on. I don't know if you want to say that Darius Slayton is, the guy to replace Malik Neighbors, because Darius Slayton's been fine, but I don't think he's like that elite. I don't think Malik Neighbors is really replaceable. But I mean, they have some guys that Dart can still work with. The running back situation, same thing. I think Skattebo is going to be really used in that offense. I'm still not a big fan of the coach, but I think that he might be on his way out of here. What's his name here? The man
Dable.
He's gonna. I'm not a big fan of him, to be honest. I still don't really. I think that he did this just out of desperation, and it panned out. It worked out, but I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season he's still let go.
I will say for Brian Dable, though, you have momentum on your side, because to come in and beat the Chargers, that's big in your rookie quarterback's first start. 21-18. So your defense didn't allow a lot of points. It wasn't like it was, this shootout. Their defense was allowing points, and you just happened to come out on the side. Only holding the Chargers to 18 points, that's commendable. But oh my gosh, I loved Cam Skattebo coming into the draft. I wanted the Bengals drafted, and he is everything I thought he was going to be. He does not care. He is an angry little man. He runs so hard, and he is so fun to watch. There's a photo of him. I couldn't find it, but he's like got his arms down by his side. He's screaming up in the air, and his jersey's just covered in dirt. And people are like, where did that dirt come from? They play on a turf field. And it's like, I don't know if it was blood or what, but it was just the most like angry, like, let's go. Like, oh, yes. Finally, the New York Giants have some culture changers on the roster. You got Jaxson Dart, who, Eli Manning called him up and said, hey, Jaxson, if you need any favors, you just let me know. I'm your boy, former Giants franchise quarterback. I want to help you out. I want to help this team. You know what Jaxson Dart did? He called up and said, can you get me a reservation at this steakhouse? That's I don't know if you've heard that story, but
I've heard of it. He's a good guy, man.
Dude,
What
that is like that's alpha. That's alpha right
he just wanted a reservation to a cool.
He wanted a
steak.
He wanted a nice ribeye, maybe some wagyu. I don't know, but I think the Giants have a lot to be excited about. And we mentioned Brian Daboll. I'm not saying Brian Dable's a good coach, but I am saying Brian Daboll has an opportunity here. He has maybe not the fans on his side, but the fans are excited. Right. And he has some momentum, and he has an opportunity to say, we're going to go out and we're going to win these games. I'm going to show that I can turn this team around under Jaxson Dart. I got my guy now. I got my boys. We got some culture changers in the locker room. So is he going to go the Zac Taylor route and say, oh, Malik Neighbors went down. Okay, shut it up. Like, close things up. Or is he going to say, hey, Malik Neighbors went down. We still got Jaxson Dart. We still got Cam Skattebo. We still got Theo Johnson. We still got Sexy Dexy on the D-line. Brian Burns. We got some playmakers. Let's go out and win some football games. So you're gonna rally.
And they go, yeah, and then they cheer and they get excited, and then they actually win football games. Sounds like a reverse of what's going on over in the AFC. But
exactly, what kind of team are you going to be? And I understand Malik Neighbors is not a quarterback, and I understand that those two positions are different in degree of importance. I get that. But I think if I said at the beginning of the season, two Giants fans, would you rather have Malik Neighbors or would you rather have Jaxson Dart? I think 9.5 out of 10 Giants fans would say they would rather have Malik Neighbors on the field. But that is not the situation they have. Not because they don't like Jaxson Dart, but because I'm only giving you the two options. I do agree with you. I think Jaxson Dart has the potential to be the best quarterback in this draft. And I say that as someone who likes Cam Ward.
I'm still not big on Cam Ward yet. I mean, I think it's hard though to really give him a fair decision on his skill set because of the offense that is around him. I mean, Calvin Ridley hasn't done anything. Their freaking running back is what, Tony Pollard? Like, this offense is just not there. Like, it just seems like the best way to describe it is you do a what is it, what's the stupid Madden game mode? Oh, there's a stupid let me think about this. Ultimate Team. It's MUT. It's like Madden Ultimate Team. You're starting out making a Madden Ultimate Team, and this is the Madden Ultimate Team that you're given. It's like a Calvin Ridley 84 overall card, a rookie Cam Ward card that's probably like a 72 overall, and a Tony Pollard card that was like his rookie card or whatever that's like an 80 overall. Like, the team is just so like generic. Whereas at least with the Giants, on the other hand, they've got a lot of promise over there. And to be honest, I think that this is very, very awesome. If Jaxson Dart can keep this momentum going, the only thing that concerns me going into next season is that sophomore slump. Just because I feel like a lot of these quarterbacks have been having it. We saw it with Bo Nix. We've seen it with who was another one that we've been seeing it with. But nonetheless, one of the things that I really worry about going into next season is, even if Jaxson Dart does very well with the Giants, and let's say they don't get let's say they still finish like 7-10, just because they still have some pieces to figure out. The only thing that you grow concerned with going into next season is that even with Malik Neighbors coming back to teams, he might struggle on a bounce back. Oh, CJ Stroud, that was the other one. I was thinking CJ Stroud. He had a weird sophomore slump last year. He still hasn't recovered.
This year too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little worried about CJ Stroud over there. I don't really know what's going on with him. I don't know. I mean, it's a tough determination. I mean, it's one game. I mean, we can talk about this next year on how well Dart's doing. Dart might not even have a slump. May never see him miss again. He may be, generationally the second best quarterback behind Tom Brady. We don't know. I doubt it, but who knows?
They got the Saints this week, and then they have a gauntlet. They have, I believe it's Eagles, Broncos, Eagles. So Jaxson Dart, he's going to have a little bit of a rest this week, but then he's going into the fire. And
but honestly, though, having a game against the Saints after having a big win over the Chargers right now, like I know the Saints and the Bills had a not very pretty game. I know the Bills won it was 31-19 finish. I think a lot of people called it a sloppy game for the Bills. Regardless, I mean the Saints played hard, played gritty, but nonetheless, the Saints are not that good of a team. The Giants should win with ease. This will help Jaxson Dart build up that confidence for the gauntlet. So even if he struggles against the Eagles, like one of the big high-powered teams, he's beaten the Chargers before, who, needless to say, aren't on the same level as the Eagles, but he'll have momentum because, he just torched the Saints, and he had a big win over the Chargers in his first game. Even if they lose against the Eagles, if it's at Philly, he's going to probably put his heart into it,
And hey, as long as they're competitive, as long as they don't do this.
Yeah, I don't see the O-line doing that. I can't lie. I think the Giants O-line is a little bit more competent than whatever's happening here. And I don't know if I necessarily blame, I don't know who to blame for this. Like I look at this picture and I just don't know who to blame. Like who called this offensive line? Was there a shift? Like who are they not blocking? Like what are we doing here?
This team, you had so many penalties, which, okay, some of them were on Dylan Fairchild. He's a rookie. You can let that go. You can let and we're going back to the Bengals here real quick, but the Dylan Fairchild, I'll let that go. Ted Karras, that call was BS. But they got a penalty. They got a delay of game penalty on the punt. This team is just so poorly coached, and this is just a perfect image for that. Shout out Bengals Central. But oh my gosh. Why is the running back helping Ted Karras go one-on-one why would you even and Jalen Rivers 74 is also a rookie, but why would you scheme for the running back to help a guy when you've already got three other players helping him as well? I don't know. As long as the Giants don't do that, I think Giants fans should be happy with what they've seen from Jaxson Dart so far. Because he's a culture changer. Build the culture around this guy. I like him. I think a lot of people are going to look really dumb because they made fun of the Giants for trading up for him. And
it's awesome because I thought it was a great move. I was very excited about it. And yeah. So
I liked Jaxson Dart. And let's move on to two other rookie quarterbacks real quick. We don't have to talk about them a long time because I do want to get to the Steelers as well. But the Cleveland Browns, we've been monitoring their quarterback situation, and they have officially made a quarterback change. Joe Flacco has been benched for third-round pick out of Oregon, Dillion Gabriel. And now Dillion Gabriel, he played a little bit last week and I think the week before, but he wasn't the starter. This is the first week he will be the starter. Shedeur Sanders is still the third string. He is not the backup. Joe Flacco will be the backup. I guess, what are your initial thoughts to me telling you that?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to put it on record that when the Browns beat the Green Bay Packers a couple weeks ago, initially I read a report, and I don't know if there's truth to it. Did you read the report that they said that they were going to investigate them for some sort of betting? Because there was an absurd amount of money that was put on the Green Bay Packers or the Cleveland Browns or something. It was on the Green Bay Packers. There was an absurd amount of money on the Green Bay Packers. And because the Browns won 13-10, all the revenue just went to all these betting, play. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But point being is, people were saying that when Cleveland finally gets a win, they think that it's suspicious. And basically, in conclusion, the Cleveland Browns are bad. But Dillion Gabriel, on the other hand, the Shedeur Sanders situation, I think, is interesting just on the case that the problem is I know people want Shedeur to play. I know they want to see him start. He looked good in preseason. Cleveland Browns fans were going crazy on if you listen, so the 93.7 The Fan, Pittsburgh sports talk station here, back in preseason, went and talked about the Cleveland Browns talk show station and how much they were glazing and going crazy about how well Shedeur Sanders played. Like literally were absolutely screaming and losing their minds about how good this guy was. And I know your favorite guy ever, Andrew Filipponi, was talking about it on the show. And he was saying, yeah, I don't understand why they're like, it's, you know, it's cool, but like, I don't think it's like that crazy exciting, but there's Cleveland Browns fans seem pretty excited about it. Nonetheless, those people that have the same like momentum, the same mentality as, you know, crazy. The problem is Dillion Gabriel was the higher of the two picks at the end of the day. The Cleveland Browns invested in Dillion Gabriel first. Shedeur to them is just a backup. And that's sad for some and maybe not sad for others. But the point being is they're going to see how well Dillion Gabriel is going to do before they look onto Shedeur. And if Dillion Gabriel doesn't pan out, there's a good chance that they just fall back on Joe Flacco. I mean, that's just how it is. And it's unfortunate because Shedeur may never see the field with Cleveland, and it'll be tough to see him take the field maybe with other teams that already have established quarterbacks. But that's just the way that the NFL works. But with Dillion Gabriel, I'm excited to see how he does. I've been kind of like middle of the line with him. I haven't really been super on with him. I kind of forget that he kind of exists as a quarterback just because there's a lot more hype around these other quarterbacks. But I'm excited to see how he does. I'm not really big on Cleveland's offense. I could see him doing probably maybe a little bit better than a Cam Ward right now, just because I think that there's still some holes on that offense in Cleveland.
I think the Cleveland Browns defense is phenomenal and their offense is stinky, but their offense needs some athleticism and at the quarterback position. And what are you doing going from Joe Flacco to Dillion Gabriel? You're getting that athleticism. Now, the question I think becomes, can Dillion Gabriel make the throws? They have weapons on offense. I know Cedric Tillman, I believe, went down with injury. I believe he's on IR.
Yeah, he's done, at least for now.
You still have Quinshaw Judkins. You have Dylan Sampson, who I love, in the backfield.
These are running backs, though.
I know. But then you have Harold Fannin Jr., who he's a tight end, but he acts as a wide receiver, kind of like Gesicki. You have David Njoku, another tight end. And then people are forgetting you have Isaiah Bond, who was supposed to be a second-round pick until there were some allegations that he's been cleared of now. And he got signed as an undrafted free agent.
But are they going to use him, though?
I think so. I think they will.
They should.
I believe he led the team in targets last week.
Which is good. But you have to see how Dillion Gabriel does, because Joe Flacco might be targeting him. Who else is there? Who they have on wide receivers? Do they still have is it Judy? They still have Judy?
Yeah, they have Judy. Jerry Judy. Shoot.
Yeah, Jerry Judy. I mean, he's fine. He's decent. As long as Dillion Gabriel can, as long as they're not double covering him and he gets open. But if you lean on Judkins, Bond, if you lean on these guys, the offense could very much open up. Is Dillion Gabriel a scrambler? Like I said, I didn't really watch a lot of Oregon ball, so I don't really know.
He can
scramble. Is he more of a
little shorter? What?
Is he more of a pocket passer? Is he not going to move that much, or is he going to run?
He's like a weird middle ground, I'd say. He's not like a Lamar.
Okay.
But probably more. And I'm not comparing in terms of their mobility.
Yes.
Similar to Mahomes.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Where Mahomes he can move, but he prefers to stay in the pocket, I would say. Okay. He's not. I'm not saying he's going to come out and just light up the league.
Oh, Dillion Gabriel, man, this guy is just impressive. He's just what a throw by Dillion Gabriel. Imagine he becomes the next like that would be, yeah.
But I think Gabriel has the ability to bootleg, which he'll need to do because the Browns have been struggling at the tackle position. So if he needs to get out of the pocket to throw, he can. The other thing is, so there was this report that came out that Shedeur Sanders. There were teams that wanted to draft him early on, and one of them was the Baltimore Ravens. And I don't know if this report is true. I'm going off of what the report said.
Right.
One of them was the Baltimore Ravens, and Shedeur said, "I do not want to play for you because I want to go somewhere where I have a chance to start." Fair enough. You're not going to start over Lamar Jackson. However, Shedeur, honestly, Lamar Jackson for your playing style is a pretty good guy to learn from.
Oh, I agree. Because at that point, I mean, we've seen how backup quarterbacks have just been getting flipped around. Kenny Pickett was behind, Philly or behind Jalen Hurts, and he got shipped off to Cleveland, and then Cleveland shipped him off to Vegas. We've seen Sam Darnold sit behind Brock Purdy. We've seen quarterbacks sit behind these guys, especially a Sam Darnold.
It's a league where you're not always going to have the best situation, but you might get an opportunity. And guess who's starting for the Baltimore Ravens this week? Cooper Rush.
Shedeur would have started.
If he was with the Baltimore Ravens, he would have started. But instead, he's going to be third string in the Cleveland Browns quarterback locker room behind Joe Flacco and another rookie. And, I guess you got to deal the cards you were dealt now. But that's just irony, I think. And Shedeur, I don't know. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think there's just a maturity issue there potentially. Because like today, reporters asked him about the situation and he responded just like miming. He didn't talk to them. He just I was reading an article about it earlier, I think on Sports Illustrated, and he was like, "This is hilarious. This is the greatest thing ever. This is so funny." Is that what you want from your leadership as a quarterback? That's not like, if Jake Browning came out and did that, I would be like, what do
you mean by miming though? Like, what is he doing?
Like, he was just like,
oh,
yeah, your volume didn't cut out if you're on audio. That was just,
oh no, I know. I was watching your facial expression. Like, I just didn't understand like what you meant.
Yeah, no, he just didn't respond. Like, it was stupid. I didn't think it was funny. I mean, I don't know. I'm not up with the trends, but that didn't scream to me leader, I guess. But I don't. We'll see how Dillion Gabriel does.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to see how he does. I mean, I'm never gonna prey on a guy's downfall, but I mean, it is the Cleveland Browns, so I never really want to see them do. They can do okay, but they can never do too good.
If this Dillion Gabriel pick hits, this might be the greatest draft in Cleveland Browns history.
Yeah, it might be.
Mason Graham looks good, and he's making the Travis Hunter trade look dumb. You got Quinshad Judkins looking good. Harold Fannin Jr. looks good. Dillion Gabriel potentially could be your future starter here. I mean, if the Shedeur pick is the only pick that you're like kind of iffy on, and you could even trade Shedeur later on. I talked to Browns fans who didn't like this draft at all. They didn't like it one bit. And now that I talked them into it, hyped it up to them, and now they're watching these guys play. They're like, "No, you were right. These guys are awesome." And I was like, "I know they are. I wish they were on Cincinnati." But anyway, good luck to Dillion Gabriel, I guess. I mean, I don't want you to do too good because, again, division rival, but I'll root for you. I'll root for the young guy. Chus, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is going to make Chris Vikings 30 upset here. They beat the Vikings.
They did beat the Vikings, yes.
That record he was talking about in the comments about, I don't know if you saw, about how the Vikings were going to be the first team to beat Aaron Rodgers in 3 different countries or something. That did not happen.
That didn't happen
because the Pittsburgh Steelers went into, was it Dublin, Ireland?
Dublin, Ireland. Yeah, they the place where Skylar Thompson got mugged. But
let's be nice to the Irish. We're Catholic. We have to be nice.
I didn't say that. I just said that he got mugged in Dublin.
It was
there's a lot of theories on.
That was one of them Brits. That was one of them Irish Brits.
It happens. So,
but what did we think about that game? And the Vikings had Jordan Addison back, coming off a big win to the Bengals. You still won.
Yeah, I was very impressed with how the Steelers looked. I mean, the Patriots game was very sloppy. Going back and talking about it and looking at it, I think the problem is we always play weird against the Patriots, no matter how good of a team we are, how bad of a team we are. So winning 21-14 is a very in our nature type game. Now we won this game against the Vikings by 3, but to be honest, the game probably should have been a lot more further out of reach, but there were some play calls that were called to further make sure our lead stayed the same. It was a 4th and goal, and I think we were like 4 or 5 yards out. Instead of throwing the ball, we ran the ball, but Kenneth Gainwell ended up falling short on the 1 yard line, but it pushed them back far enough that it extended the play. It was going to extend their they would have to run 99 yards. They would have to get 99 yards. Now I believe they ended up getting that touchdown, but point being is they had to go the full length of the field and they had to convert on 4th and goal as well. And I'm talking about the Vikings now because they did have to convert. But point being is there was that. And then there was a delay of game that the Steelers ended up doing instead of going for it on 4th and 1 because they were up 24-20. They were up 24 still, or they were up 24-21. And then they ended up looking like they were going to go for it. And then they ended up punting it because they took the delay of game to push the Vikings further back. And they just did a lot of play calls to, although it looked weird, they're making sure that they forced Carson Wentz to produce on offense more or less. And I liked that. At first I was very upset and skeptical. I was like, why would you have Kenneth Gainwell run on that play? They should have just, you should have just thrown the ball at that point, but you get a crazy pick 6 or something like that. You can end up going all the way to the 40-yard line or something. If you don't convert on that 4th down and the Vikings get it on that 4th and inches or that 4th and 1 or whatever it was, the Vikings are now like 20 yards away from field goal territory to tie the game and go into overtime. Do you really want that? No. You take the delay game and you punt it. So it makes sense what they were doing. Aaron Rodgers. Did you see the video of Aaron Rodgers in the huddle? It's been on the
I saw the tush push.
Bro. No, not that one.
Different video.
He ripped some smelling salts. He takes them, he throws them on the ground, immediately throws an 80-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf right after it. Perk Rogers is back, baby.
Dog!
And he throws it. It was so funny. It was on TV. It was crazy. It's been everywhere, at least on Steelers social media pages. Throws a 80-yard bomb to, not bomb, but he throws a nice little pass to DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf's just off to the races. It was beautiful. I liked what I saw. Kenneth Gainwell, too. Shout out Kenneth Gainwell. Kenny G really stepping up. Jaylen Warren did not play in this game, but Kenneth Gainwell really stepped up as a running back 1 in this game. I compared him to a reliable backup like D'Angelo Williams was back in the day when Le'Veon Bell would go down, or James Conner as well.
That's a deep pull.
Yeah, D'Angelo Williams, very consistent, very good backup, was somebody reliable, and sure enough, Kenneth Gainwell was very much reminding me a lot of D'Angelo Williams. Not in the same playing styles. I feel like Kenneth Gainwell is very different than how D'Angelo Williams played, but in terms of consistency and reliability as a backup, I think Kenneth Gainwell hits it right on the nail on the head, especially with Jaylen Warren dealing with some sort of weird injury he should be back this week, but they pulled him last minute in Dublin, which really screwed up some of my friends and stuff who had him in fantasy. But that's besides the point. Kenneth Gainwell looked great. Jordan Addison coming back in this game, he also looked very good. He was torching our offense. I really thought it, he looked really, the defense, but he looked good. And I think that, going forward, he will, continue to produce, well. I think we matched up pretty well. The argument some people put online is if JJ McCarthy was starting, would the Vikings have still won this game? Would the Vikings have still lost this game? I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I personally don't. I personally still think it would have been the same result. I think the Steelers defense is starting to finally find their identity again. I don't know what they decided to shift, but they finally decided that they're going to shift it back to whatever they were doing, because the last 2 games the defense has stepped up. TJ Watt, more presence. He had an interception in this game, which was freaking awesome. And yeah, TJ Watt had a lot of pressures. He had, I believe, maybe 2 sacks. If I don't want to over stat line him, but I know that he looked very good as well. I was very impressed, despite the game looking a lot closer. We were up at one point, 24-14. It was just that instead of throwing for it on 4th and goal, we ran it, and instead of having it at 95-yard play, they made it 99, which still they ended up scoring a touchdown, but wasted all that time. So, but I'm excited coming off the bye week. We got to play Cleveland, and then we got to see how Dillion Gabriel plays, and then we play you guys. So I'm hopeful for this team. We have some tough matchups. I will say I'm not very big of a fan of how the schedule plays out for the Steelers again, just because I think that this team can do really well, but we have some tough matchups in there. We really do. The only thing that I will say is at this moment in time, with the way that the other teams around us are in the AFC North, there is a chance that the Steelers, if they continue producing the way that they will, could win the North. And the only reason I say that is just because of the Joe Burrow injury and the problems we've all talked about on this show for over 30 minutes. We've got that. You've got Cleveland, who still has a weird offensive, issues right now. We're not sure how Dillion Gabriel is going to play. And Baltimore, I mean, you can't count them out necessarily, but man, they're getting plagued with injuries. I mean, all over the offense, all over the defense. Lamar's out. I mean, this team is really like slim pickings on who's going to be next man up. I mean, they took a picture of it. There's like 15 of their starters, I swear, are out, or like at least 15 of their players are out. And if the Steelers stay healthy, if they stay consistent in their offense and their defense, and injuries are at a very minimal, the Steelers could win the North, but it's not going to be easy because we still have those tough division matchups. We don't know how Cleveland's going to end up playing with Gabriel. We don't know if the Bengals end up rallying somewhere in the middle of the season, end up coming back. We don't know if these Raven players are going to come back from, injuries and end up stuffing our chances. I know our holiday stretch is tough. We have to play Buffalo, and then we also have to play Detroit. So we have another tough Thanksgiving / holiday stretch like we did last year. So it might be a tough finish for Pittsburgh again, but if we can continue the energy and the consistency, I really like where this team could go.
I will say, Baltimore losing in Matabike, not a huge name for like casual fans or fans outside of Baltimore. He's a good player, and to lose him at the defensive tackle position for the season, that's going to be hard for that defense to come back from. And they've already got a ton of other injuries, as you mentioned. But we will see how all this kind of lines up. We got Jaxson Dart and Cam Skattebo killing it in New York. We got Dillion Gabriel, big question mark in Cleveland. Can the Steelers win the AFC North just by default of everyone else sucking? Possibly. Can A.D. Mitchell redeem himself with the Indianapolis Colts? I don't know. Will Zac Taylor be fired and replaced by WNBA Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White? Probably not, but she might do a better job. But we will follow along with all that on No Buts About It. We thank you so much for stopping by. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It's a 5-second thing for you, but it is a huge help to us. So please do that. And I will have the merch links down below in the description if you want to support the show financially as well. Helps us pay for software and helps us maybe get Chus out of his basement. He's been stuck there. He just leaves there, stays there forever.
Yeah. Yep.
But until next time, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Josh Butts. Go do something nice for someone.